Hi, I'm Amy Romeo and welcome to my Faux Falloween Crafting Event, where I'll be sharing brand new fall and Halloween faux leather crafts every day for 10 days. Now I'll be showing you how to get the SVGs for this project in just a moment, but first let's go through the tools and materials we'll be using. So in today's project, I'll be showing you how to make these really cute faux leather bookmarks. They're very simple. They have a faux leather base, some heat transfer vinyl decorations, and then an optional tassel. So I'll be cutting the faux leather for this project using my Cricut Maker, but you could use any of the current Cricut machines because they all cut faux leather using the standard fine point blade that's included. Now, if you're using the Cricut Joy, you'll need to use the longer Joy size mat to fit the size of these bookmarks, but the Joy cuts faux leather very nicely. Now, the faux leather that I'm using is a nice smooth faux leather. You could use a print or a pattern, but I recommend that it's nice and smooth. I'll have links to all of these materials for you so you know exactly what I purchased, but just know that faux leather comes in rolls, it comes in sheets, and you can really use anything that you'd like. Smooth is going to be best. For the heat transfer vinyl that we'll be applying, I like to use Caesar Easy Weed because it weeds really well, but you could use whatever heat transfer vinyl works for you. And that's for the front. Now for the back, I will be showing you how to put some heat transfer vinyl onto the back of the bookmark before we make our bookmark shape cut. And that just helps add some interest on the back, makes it look finished without adding any thickness or bulk. For example, if you glued two pieces of faux leather front to back, that would make this pretty thick. But I'll show you how to do this too. This is Cricut foil iron-on, and I like to use it because it's nice and thin and it presses well. So you could use that or any regular heat transfer vinyl. Now for the little bookmark tassels, I get these on Amazon. Again, I'll link to these for you. I really like having one of these big multicolored packs on hand, and then you can choose any color you'd like. Some other tools you'll need a heat press of some kind. I like my Easy Press Mini because it's easy to press very small areas with it, but you can also use a regular heat press. You'll need a heat pressing pad of some kind, a cover sheet for pressing your heat transfer vinyl. This is a Teflon sheet that I've trimmed down to size, but you could use butcher paper or parchment paper. Some other tools, I liked having some detail scissors. You'll need a weeding tool of some kind, either a pin pen or a weeding hook. And then some blue painter's tape. This is going to help us get good cuts. Now I'll be cutting my heat transfer vinyl on the green standard grit mat and the faux leather on our purple strong grit mat. Okay, so let me show you how to get the SVGs for this project, and then we'll jump into Cricut Design Space and get our files ready to cut. To get the SVG for this and all of the daily event projects, visit the event page at amyromeo.com/Falloween24 or click the link in the description. You'll also see the option to upgrade to the event VIP pass and get instant access to all of the daily event projects, bonus files, and more. So starting with a blank canvas in Cricut Design Space, you'll click on Upload and then Upload Image, and you'll browse to where the unzipped SVG files are for this project. Click on them to select it and click Open. You'll see a preview of the 3 bookmark shapes. Click Continue and then click Upload. And that's going to bring the 3 bookmark shapes onto your canvas. Now they are all currently grouped together, which means they're moving together and I can't separate them or touch any of the layers individually. So what I want to do first is click on Ungroup so that I can show you the layers for these 3 different designs. Now today we'll be making the cute little skeleton coffin here in the middle, but all 3 of them will be made in the exact same way. I just wanted to show you the layers here. So here the skeleton coffin has a background layer of faux leather. I'll be using black, but you can use any colors you'd like for any of these projects. And then this top layer is going to cut from white heat transfer vinyl, and you could see that I've connected the shapes together. So when you weed it, it's very easy for you to place the outline and the little skeleton. That'll go right into place very easily for you. Now this one here, the tombstone, has 3 layers. There's a text layer, there's an outline layer, and then there's that back faux leather layer. And then the little ghost here also has 3 layers. There's a white heat transfer vinyl layer. Again, I've connected these shapes for you, so when you weed them and you go to place them, you won't be struggling with how to line up the text and where does the little ghost go. They'll just pop into place for you. Same with our little line of text here. Whatever text color you choose for this will be the text color for your book. Then we have that faux leather layer on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and delete these 2 designs. off of my canvas since we will be focusing on making this one today. Now this one is 6 inches tall, which is standard height for little bookmarks. You could resize this if you wanted to. Just make sure both layers are selected, and then you can make those size adjustments up here in your top size panel. Okay, let's go ahead and click the Make It button. We're cutting our materials on a mat. And the first thing we want to do is mirror both of these mats so we don't forget, because heat transfer vinyl and faux leather cut in reverse. Now, if you happen to be using permanent vinyl for your vinyl layer, that's completely fine, but then you would not mirror that mat if it is using permanent vinyl to cut from. Okay, so the first thing I want to do after I've mirrored my mats is just drag my shape away from the edges a little bit. And I just like to do that as force of habit to give myself a little bit of extra room and space when I'm weeding. Same thing with our faux leather layer. And here we'll be placing some blue painter's tape around our faux leather when we place it down on the mat to cut. So I'm just giving myself a little bit of extra room for that. This is also a great way to see what size scrap of faux leather you can use. So it looks like I'm going to cut a piece of faux leather about 4 inches wide and 7 inches tall for that base layer. So go ahead and click continue. And then for the faux leather layer, I like to use the faux leather paper thin setting. Even though the material that I'm cutting isn't paper thin, this is the setting that I use 99% of the time when I cut faux leather. Now, if you don't have this setting bookmarked as a favorite like I do, you can click on Browse All Materials and search for it. Keep in mind, if you're using the Explore Air 2, you'll need to turn your dial to custom before you can locate this setting when you search. So I'm going to go ahead and select it, and then for pressure, you always want to use more pressure when you're cutting faux leather. Now for the vinyl mat, you'll use whatever cut setting is recommended for your particular material. So I usually use the iron-on setting when I'm using Caesar Easy Weed. That's this setting here. I also like the washi sheet setting. If you have a preferred setting when you are cutting your favorite heat transfer vinyl, then go ahead and use that one. Okay, so let's click back here on our faux leather mat. Make sure we have faux leather paper thin with more pressure ready to go. Now let's hop back to my overhead camera. We'll go ahead and get our mats cut out, and then we will assemble our cute bookmark. So before we cut out our shape from the faux leather, I do want to show you how to press the heat transfer vinyl onto the back of the faux leather before you make the cut. And that's just going to help you get a really nice finished edge when you're cutting through both layers at the same time. Now the way to do that is to get your smaller piece of faux leather. It should be just slightly larger than the shape that's going to cut. So this is that size that I noted on the mat preview screen. And then I cut a piece of heat transfer vinyl just slightly smaller than that shape, and that way no edges of the heat transfer vinyl are overlapping and could get accidentally pressed onto our heat press. So I've got my piece of faux leather back to back with my heat transfer vinyl, and I'm just going to place it down on my heat pressing pad. Faux leather on the bottom. So here's the back of the faux leather facing up. Here's the heat transfer vinyl back facing down. And I'm just going to use a cover sheet. Again, this is a Teflon sheet, a big t-shirt size Teflon sheet that I've just trimmed down smaller. You could use butcher paper or parchment paper. And then I'm going to use my Easy Press Mini for this. I have it set to the low setting. If you're using a regular Easy Press, I would set it to about 265 degrees to start. You can always adjust the temperature from there. Now I'm just going to go ahead and press all over. I want to get a good 15 seconds of pressing on every part of the back of this. So we'll go ahead and speed that up for you. So now that I've pressed the back all over for at least 15 seconds, I want to move my cover sheet aside, and then very carefully I want to try and lift up a corner of the clear carrier sheet that's on top of my heat transfer vinyl. And you want to lift that up. If you see any bubbling or lifting, just go ahead and place it right back down and press some more. But this looks pretty good. So holding my faux leather flat so our pretty heat transfer vinyl does not wrinkle, I'm just going to peel away that clear carrier sheet. Now I do see some bubbling and lifting here at the edges, but that's okay because I am going to press this a second time. Try and keep this nice and flat so you don't get wrinkles. And if you've done this right, you'll start to see the texture of the faux leather backing coming through on that heat transfer vinyl. But I do want to press this one more time, as I mentioned, And that's because when the blade is dragging through this and cutting, if there's any air between the surfaces of these two materials, then it can tear your heat transfer vinyl. So we want to make sure it's really well adhered. So I'm just going to cover again and press for at least 5 seconds all over. And after I do that, we should see even more of that texture of the back of the faux leather coming through. And there we go, that looks really good. Now this is warm, so you want to place it underneath your heat pressing pad just to let it cool for a minute while you get your blue Strong Grip mat ready to go. So I'm using my Cricut Strong Grip mat, and I'm going to get my faux leather after it's cooled and place it pretty side down, so that faux leather side down, right in the spot that I saw in the mat preview screen where my shape is going to cut. Press it down all over with your fingers, or if you have a brayer, you can roll it with a brayer. Then we're just going to use that blue painter's tape and tape around on all of the edges. Then we're just going to open up the machine here, load our mat in, and begin the cut. So the cut has run one time, and what I want to do is use my sharp weeding tool and just check that the cut went all the way through before I unload my mat. So I'm just lifting up an edge, and this cut does look like it went through well, but if not, if when you lift it's pulling down a little, you can just hit that cut button again. You can do that as many times as needed to repeat the cut as long as you haven't unloaded your mat. But this looks good, so I'm going to unload my mat and remove my shape. So here we have our front, and then there's that pretty foil on the back. Now when the blade goes through on the edges here, sometimes you'll get a little bit of a rippling effect all around the edges, and if that happens and you don't like it, you can just place this down on your heat pressing pad and then press again for a few more seconds. But I think this looks pretty good, so I'm just going to use my curved scissors, finish trimming out this little hole here. There we go. Okay, and I will set this aside. Now I'm going to return to Design Space, choose my vinyl cut setting, and cut out my vinyl mat. So here's my white heat transfer vinyl. Again, this is Caesar Easy Weed, and I find it very helpful to have a good weeding vinyl when you're cutting out little tiny shapes like this one. Shiny side goes down on a green standard grip mat, and we'll just cut this little vinyl mat. So my vinyl mat has finished cutting. I'm just going to remove it from my mat and spend a minute weeding away the excess vinyl. And there we go, that looks pretty cute. Just be sure to weed away the little eyes and the nose and these little tiny hip bone parts. So I'll bring my heat pressing pad back. We'll put our little faux leather layer right on our heat pressing pad. Bring back the Easy Press Mini. Now what I'm going to do is line up the hole with the little vinyl part here. You could see there's a little tiny cutout, and that goes over the hole. So all you want to do is line up that hole and then make sure that this white border is evenly spaced all around the faux leather piece. Let me see if I can show you what I mean. Basically the white border is going to sit inside and create a little black border, so you want that to be as even as possible. Then we're just going to cover again and press. So now that I've pressed this all over, I'm going to just peel away the clear carrier sheet. Now if you have trouble peeling away the carrier sheet and your vinyl is lifting, try letting this cool for about 30 seconds to a minute before you start peeling. If you're still having trouble where your vinyl is lifting up, then press it again and repeat that cooling process. I'm going to go ahead and just start to peel this away. This looks really good. And that's that. Isn't that cute? And we've got that really pretty foil iron-on on the back. Now to add a tassel, I'm just going to grab a little color coordinating tassel here from my tassel bag. and the tassel has a loop ready to go. Just sort of pinch that loop to make it smaller, and then put it with your bookmark facing up. Put that little loop through the hole going down into the bookmark. Pull the loop on the back, and then just flip that tassel through the loop to the back and pull. Isn't that cute? So here's another look at the 3 bookmarks that are part of this project. And I hope you're going to really enjoy making these. This one here, the Spooky Book Club, this is one of the bonuses for VIP pass holders. So if you're not a VIP pass holder, be sure to check that out. There's so many great bonuses in the Faux Falloween event for you. Remember, to get this and all of the SVG files for the Faux Falloween Crafting Event, visit amyromeo.com/Falloween24. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.